One. We have Commissioners Nyer and Commissioner Nyer and Commissioner McCollum on the joining us virtually. Commissioner Castellini is absent today on account of some travel delays. So we do have a quorum. We'll go ahead and get started with public comment. We have Tony Nyer, Evan Walker, and Jen Tomac to start. And we've got a few more. Come on up, Tony. Welcome.
How are you guys today?
Great, thank you.
I'm going to support the skate park underneath the bridge to Sawyer Point. I rode bikes for 20 years professionally from born and raised on the west side of Cincinnati. Kind of in a place where there wasn't any skate parks, so I see a lot of good things that can stem from a skate park being added to the area. I made some notes here. So the youth need a place to be creative in the city. A skate park is a perfect canvas to show up to be whatever kind of art you want to be. The bridge, this park is a perfect destination for a skate park. Tons of parking, bike path runs directly to it. So skate parks are resistant to floods. Becomes a great source of entertainment for the community that are passing by in the park. Skate parks are a great tourist attraction. Brings a lot of people from all over the country, not just the tri-state, to the area. It brings kids here, gives them something to do when they come here with their parents. The bridge element to add to the skate park is great for shelter during the summer when it's hot, shelter during the fall seasons. It's also great for having light for the different times of fall when the days get shorter. It's also got a lot of playgrounds, tennis courts, and an amphitheater near it. So it would also be great just to have a whole base of community to be able to do a lot of different things. Seems like the perfect place to bring an entire family down to. When I was in grade school, I was a part of a project that helped build the playground that was initially there that burned down. Would be a part of the project that puts something else there for kids and youth.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, Evan, you're up.
Hello, I'm Evan with the Cincinnati Skate Park Project, and I've spoken here before, but wanted to come and say it's great to see that the bridge has been reopened ahead of schedule. It's awesome to see sort of all the forces move to make that happen. I think, and I can certainly appreciate that because it's tough to get stuff done in a expedient way sometimes. So with that, I think it'd be great to see the community around the skate park down there begin. And so we can start talking about kind of what ideas would work for the skateboarders, the BMX bike community, roller skaters, rollerbladers. You know, we talk with the groups that are down there, Pickleball, Square Point, the Skate Downtown Cincy group, some of the bike groups like Tri-State Trails to connect in with the trails. But we want to start having a conversation with Cincinnati Parks. And so hope you saw the article in the Inquirer over the holidays, because I talked about a lot of our interest there and a lot of interest in general. And that's all. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. All right, Jen Tomac, and then we have Sherry Frost and Cynthia McCarthy. Hi, Jen.
Good morning. Thank you for taking the time to listen, everybody. I'm here to talk about the Burnett Woods Dog Park. So this past fall semester, I was on the UC Capstone group that studied the CSO E. coli levels in the lower valley at Burnett Woods. We identified the alarmingly high E. coli rates in the area because of the CSO. I was also vice president and president of UC Students for Burnett Woods. I'm an avid and frequent Burnett Woods visitor. Obviously, I love the park and the park system. I have a couple of questions that I'd just like to present with my few moments. First, why would parks knowingly exacerbate a combined sewer flooding problem in one of its parks by increasing impermeable surface upstream from that flooding problem? How many mature trees have fallen by the CSO sinkhole just south of Trailside Nature Center in the last 2 weeks? How many millions behind on infrastructure maintenance in Burnett Woods is the park board? And if I'm correct, the number is quite high. Why are we spending $500,000 on something new? I ask very genuinely that you all would give this development proposition the neutrality and decision-making that it deserves and protect our beloved Burnett Woods land and natural environment. I thank you for your time. I thank you for all of your efforts in the park board.
Thank you, Jen. All right, Sherry, welcome back, and then Cynthia.
Good morning. I'm here today in opposition to the dog park in Burnett Woods, as you know. My friend Coretta started a petition on her own, being a direct neighbor to the site, passed away, and her petition has 1,674 signatures, which is significant. The petition that Preserve Burnett Woods started has 2,300 and some odd signatures, which is also significant. The petition that those who were for the dog park received about 400. It's a pretty big discrepancy of people who are for and against, as you know. We've shown up here, which is not easy for us to do. I'm a terrible public speaker, but we're here because we care about Burnett Woods and we care about the park. We also believe that this is an abuse of your power, which I don't mean to be disrespectful to say that, but if the staff is afraid to speak because of what they saw happen to Kara Kish, maybe they're afraid to speak now. But maybe you could include them in the conversation about where would be the least damaging place to put a dog park. Maybe look at Mount Storm. As far as I know, that wasn't on the list. It has water, it has a flat area, it has accessible parking. Maybe that would be a place that you could put an accessible dog park. That would be, not humiliating for people that use mobility devices so that they can pick up after their pets and break up fights or whatever they would need to do if they bring their pets to the new dog park. That was advertised as being universally accessible. I'm not okay with it. I know Cassandra said she was fine with the changes, but I'm not. And I don't know that a lot of mothers that have children with disabilities are, or parents. So maybe we could just nix this site and talk about a better site where it will include everyone. Thank
Thank you,
you.
Sherry. Come back, Cynthia.
I'm here mostly just to be here, just so you know that I have continuing opposition to the Burnett Woods Dog Park. And to give my poop report at Westwood a couple weeks ago, there were 77. I think it has been cleaned up in the meanwhile, but what will stop that same thing from happening at Burnett Woods? And I've done a little bit more research on the decomposed gravel that you're putting in instead of the turf, which is probably better than turf, and yet has a tendency to wash away in heavy rains, which we've been having. Also has a tendency to collect odors, which we know if there's going to be dog poop and pee on there, those have odors. As Sherry was saying, there's a substantial number of people who are opposed to the dog park there compared to the people who want it. And the people who want it happen to be affluent Cliftonites. And the dog park isn't even in Clifton. The Burnett Woods is actually in Corryville. And Corryville is a depressed neighborhood. It's a lower income neighborhood. It has the lowest tree canopy in the whole city, with the exception of downtown. And it's just a terrible place to pave something that's a green space now. The maple tree that's right there at the edge of where you plan to put the dog park is home to some 100 and something different kinds of caterpillars that are food for birds. And in this time of climate change, in this time of now we have a political administration who doesn't believe in climate change. I hope that our park board does believe in climate change, but we need to preserve our green spaces. The Parks and Recreation are the people who pave things and create physical structures for play. The park board, my feeling is, should be preserving the green spaces and making them accessible for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia. In addition to the public comments today, well, first I'll say thank you for coming out. It's not easy to get out in this difficult weather. We also received many public comments via our email address regarding Burnett Woods and also regarding the skate park. So thank you for continuing to advocate for your parks. All right, we,
See, corruption, don't let Bruce.
thank you.
Conspiracy.
Thank you.
Don't let Bruce destroy our parks. Conspiracy, corruption. Don't let Bruce destroy our parks. Conspiracy, corruption.
All right.
Don't let Bruce destroy our.
Next time you can fill out a comment card. We'd like to ask you to leave. You can fill out a comment card next time. Please leave the door.
Don't let.
We need
Bruce
you
Destroy our parks.
We need you to exit, sir.
Corruption. Don't let.
I mean,
Bruce destroy our.
it's ridiculous.
Corruption.
Hear you.
Don't let Bruce destroy our parks.
Okay,
Conspiracy.
we're gonna go to,
Don't let Bruce destroy our parks.
police.
Yeah, we'll be okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, man. All right.
We hear you.
Conspiracy.
Got it.
Don't let Bruce destroy.
Well, commissioners, you picked a great day for virtual attendance. We're gonna move to action item, which is the meeting minutes. And we will move to, roll call since we've got a couple virtual attendees. May I have a motion to approve the minutes dated January 16th?
So moved.
Second,
President Norris.
Yes.
Vice President Lee.
Yes.
Commissioner Castle. Commissioner McCallum.
Check it out, mute.
she's getting unmuted.
Does the head not work?
Wait.
Okay.
Commissioner Nyer.
Yes.
Phyllis, we'll take an affirmative with a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Okay, thank you. We'll take that. All right. Next up, we've got the meeting schedule. All right, Jason, would you like to present the proposed changes?
So, we'd kind of circulated some proposed changes and then we've had some additional scheduling challenges. So, for the March meeting, we were originally proposing moving it to 1 o'clock, but I believe that doesn't work for everybody anymore. And so, I believe everybody can do 10 on that day. So we move it back to the morning, but do it about an hour later, to accommodate Commissioner Castellini, who will be in Arizona. And then the other two changes are in June. The third Thursday falls on Juneteenth. So that's a city holiday and one that many people will be out celebrating, participating in community events. So we've proposed moving that back a day to that Friday. And then in September, the meeting happens to fall during the National Parks and Rec Association meeting. And we're going to take a couple people there from our team this year to convene with park minds from across the country and hopefully learn some good ideas and maybe share a couple of our own. And so we propose you moving that back to the following, I believe that's the following Tuesday. So I suppose, I don't know that we need to like vote to amend it, but I would propose changing this to be 10 a.m. on March 20th.
Oh, 10 a.m.
Correct, 10 a.m. instead of 1 p.m. And then it would change the other two meetings.
How's that work for everybody? These adjustments?
Yeah.
I do know I won't be in the country on the 26th. But
September.
provided you've got, right, provided you've got 4 people, you'll have a quorum.
Yep.
There's a chance I could attend virtually, but probably not.
Yeah.
Okay. So may I have a motion to approve the meeting schedule as presented with the exception of March 20th, which instead will be at 10 a.m.?
So moved.
Second,
All right, well, roll
President
call.
Norris.
Yes?
Vice President Lee.
Yes.
Commissioner McCallum.
Yes.
Commissioner Nyer.
yes.
Excellent. All right. Let's get to waterfront. Lou, thanks for joining us.
And on to some good news.
All right, bring it on.
It's gonna go ahead and bring the slide deck. Did you turn it off?
Okay, it looks like we're ready to start. So today I'll be describing to you and going over what the Riverfront and the Riverfront Events team has planned in terms of events and programming, both at the Riverfront, but even more importantly, throughout the park system. On our first slide there, we got a little bit of a tagline, all in. We borrowed that from my beloved Xavier Musketeers. And what that symbolizes is a commitment to teamwork and service. Okay, we'll start out with Riverfront events, self-produced, and I'll also cover some key rentals. At Smale, we've got Smale Family Fun Days. Let me take a step back. What you'll see in a lot of these events is and I need to call it out, is that the foundation, the Cincinnati Park Foundation, is a key partner in all that you're going to be seeing today. Both in terms of financial assistance, but also their teamwork and input. So I need to really call that out at the very beginning. And you'll see, I'll also point out some of the key events that they're particularly invested in, which I'll start out with Smale Family Fun Days. These are 3 events. They're on the first Thursdays of June, July, and August. They include music, animal encounters, a whole myriad of activities for kids. Music at the Esplanade, that is another event that's throughout the summer. That's every Saturday, June through August. It runs from 5 to 7 p.m. And that's at the Castellini Esplanade. Rockin' the Roebling, that's a partnership we have with the foundation and Christian Moorline Lager House. That is every Thursday. It starts from May 15th and goes all the way through August the 28th. And those events feature some of the top local bands that we have in the city of Cincinnati. Last item on this slide is our Bengals tailgate events. This is going into next year. That'll be our 3rd year partnering with Bengal Gym for a very exciting, event series. At Sawyer Point, we have several, and I would classify these as regional level events. Stereo 25, so this will be the 3rd DJ festival. It's a multi-stage festival that will feature food trucks and top DJ talent in the city of Cincinnati. The On Point Music Festival, again, a multi-stage music festival on the 1st and 2nd of August that will feature actually 2 stages, the Procter & Gamble stage and the Schott Amphitheater. Getting to the Point, that's a smaller series. It has 5 events. They'll be on Fridays, and there'll be kind of a build-up to the On Point Music Festival. And it will feature bluegrass music and indie music. You'll see All-American Birthday Bash. That's a 4th of July space celebration for the entire city, and it will also incorporate a car show. Last year, we introduced the car show down there at Sawyer Point. It was very successful as a 1st-year event, so we're very excited to continue that. That event will feature live music and a fireworks display at the end of the event.
Lou, who produces these events?
What's that?
Who produces them?
These are
You
all Spices.
You organize all of these music festivals and put the lineups together and
That is
source
true.
the music equipment and.
Right. We have a very robust audio team with substantial audio equipment. We recently hired a full-time person to manage that staff. He's done just a phenomenal job. But yes, we book the bands, provide sound production, book the food trucks, solicit merchant vendors, the whole 9 yards.
Oh.
So I'd like to mention a few of those people that are key members of the team. Gage Bradford, who's a new service area coordinator. We have a couple of part-time individuals, Mackenzie Mobley and Donna York that help out in these efforts. John Tagg is the leader of our audio team, but they do more than just audio production. They also do, event coordination
Sure.
and production as well, the full concept. And then I mean, there's many other names to mention. Ken Holloway manages the parking staff. Wes, our special use program, which we really won't even talk about much today, but that's another rental program that we have where parks can be rented all through the system. So, and I don't want to leave anybody out, but I got a fantastic team.
Terrific.
So let's move on. So and again, another very important thing to keep in mind, it's not just park staff, but we've been able to develop some very, very excellent partnerships with various other groups. And I want to highlight some of these from Sawyer Point. There's Morgan Rago's group, Skate Downtown Cincy, and we're really going to amp up and accelerate what we're doing in our skating rink to continue to raise its profile. So we're looking at potential summer camps on this at the skating rink. We have about 10 keystone events, some of which are locked into as complementary activities to our other major events. There'll be a skating stage, for example, at Stereo 25, the DJ Festival. They will also activate the skating rink on the All-American Birthday Bash. So, again, and they're tied in to our events very, very solidly. And this is very exciting as well. We're going to be having open skate sessions every weekend through the summer. And this is part of an initiative by, Jason and the city manager to provide positive teen programming for the city this summer. Another successful partnership we have is with pickleball at Sawyer Point. Again, we're expecting another tremendous season at our pickleball facilities. We have the APP Pro-Am tournament scheduled again for its now third year. There's numerous leagues that play at the facility. But the real beauty of this program is the group play format, which is free and open to the public and operated 7 days a week through the morning hours and 5 days a week in the evening. Anybody can come down there and play and have, partners to play with. And that thing is packed every morning and every evening, 200 plus people there per day. So it's been a grand slam success. The last item there on the side, this is a long-standing partnership with Embra Yoga to provide free yoga at the Schmid-Lap event lawn, and it's every Wednesday from May to September. The other side of the coin, and it's something we're also very excited about, is some of the key event rentals that'll be taking place this year. Some of them are long-standing customers like the Flying Pig. These are some very exciting new events. You'll notice that at Sawyer Point, Flugtag, which is Red Bull rental, is coming back for the second time. That's a really cool event, and it brings a lot of people down to the city. Obviously, I've mentioned, Oktoberfest is there on the side. Which, that was a grand slam success. Obviously, last year was the first year. I believe it will become the new forever Sawyer Point. And I think that's very exciting for the city. I think it's a great venue to hold that event. So we're very excited about that. Then you also notice that there is America's River Roots. I don't know how familiar you are yet with that event, but it's an event that will celebrate the 250th birthday of the country. And it will be a huge festival that will encompass Sawyer Point and Smale, but also have activations in Newport and Covington. So, again, another huge success coming down to the riverfront. So we're equally excited about our community events and the partnerships that we've got going on to provide family-friendly programming out in our community and neighborhood parks. So one of the primary goals of this program is to offer family-friendly programming within a walking distance of our neighborhood parks. And this basically shows those circles are 1 mile radiuses from where we have programming planned. So we're doing very well at achieving our primary goal. So we'll start out with All Park. All Park has over 10 events during the year. They have 4 music festivals and then a number of tasting events, at All Park. And they're very successful. Some of the music festivals have 600 to 800 people more at them. And then, as you know, we saved the 4th of July celebration last year, and we're well into planning for this year. Woods, we have a number of community partners that we work with on events for at Burnett Woods. They include the Clifton Cultural Arts Center, the Burnett Woods Advisory Council, and the UC Students for Burnett Woods group. We have the Wednesday in the Woods series that is, I believe, 9 events. Or 11 events, and they're Wednesdays through the summer. That starts in June. Spring Fest is in April. Fall Fest is in October, on October 12th, I believe, and International Children's Day. Holmes Park will do one event this year. Our primary partner there is the Holmes Park Allies. This will be probably the 5th year that we have done that. And it is also a very highly successful event, 600 plus attendees at each of these events. Owl's Nest, our partners are the Evanston Community Council, East Walnut Hills Community Council, and the Owl's Nest Advisory Council. And they will do a Jam Fest, which will be the first Saturday in October. Moving right along, we have a full program slated for Ezra Charles. That'll include a full CSO concert at the park. That'll be in June. On July 19th, we'll have a boxing exhibition event there at the park. In August, there'll be a community talent show, and the event season will be capped off by S-Fest in October. Rapid Run, we have 4 Family Fun Fridays planned for the Fridays in July and the first one in August. Those events will feature canoeing on the lake, music, crafts, games, and other activities. International Friendship Pavilion, they have a relatively new advisory council. And they put on an event called International Friendship Day. It'll be on October 19th this year, and it'll be the second year for that event. And we continue to grow it. It's very nice. And I should have added, we also partner with the Sister Cities organization for that event. In Wood Park, we're going to do an Independence Day celebration on the 3rd of July. It'll feature live music, games, and food. For Kennedy Heights, we have a long-standing event series called Play in the Park. You'll see the community partners listed. Many of these events feature live music, but also other family-friendly activities. I believe this will be like the 12th year for this series and has tremendous support in the community. And its genesis really was concerned citizens in the community that were very concerned with negative behaviors, to include violent behaviors in Kennedy Park that happened, in the 2015 timeframe. And this has been a very successful program to, change the dynamic of that. At Stanberry Park, we partner with the Mount Washington Community Council, as well as the Stanberry Park Advisory Council, and they are planning for a number of family fun days. One of which will be that last Saturday in May, which will be a Saturday afternoon. It's more children focused, and then other Fridays primarily through the summer, and again feature live. They also do movies in September on September Fridays. Mount Airy Forest, we have 2 events planned there. We partner with the Mount Airy Advisory Council, Mount Airy Forest Advisory Council for Trail Fest, and this will be the 4th year of Trail Fest, which we have at Oak Ridge Lodge. And we'll also be having Hallow West, which is a Halloween themed event. We've had it at Hallow West, we've had it both Maple and Oak Ridge. This year will be at Oak Ridge. Mount Storm, 3 activities are planned there. They have their annual Memorial Day picnic. There's a Father's Day car show and Shakespeare in the park planned for Mount Storm. You'll see our primary partners there are the Clifton Town Meeting and Mount Storm Advisory Council. Westwood Town Hall, I believe their event series is called the Second Saturdays with Westwood Works. So that's been very successful and helps also kind of invigorate and activate their that relatively new door district. Avondale, we're still in the process of planning what we do with the Avondale parks. You'll see our primary partners there. That season good backpack giveaway that is firmed up. That'll be that first Saturday in August. And right now, depending on how funding goes with our partners, we will do at least 1 event in Martin Luther King, but we're hoping for 2. Mount Echo, you'll notice that we do Riverfest West, and this will be like the 8th year of doing Riverfest West. That's done in conjunction with the WEBN fireworks and Riverfest downtown. Mount Echo has a tremendous is a tremendous vantage point for seeing the fireworks. So we built an event there at Mount Echo to capitalize on that. So it's also been very successful. Last year, the Mount Echo Advisory Council introduced a dance event, and we had the first one last October, which kind of it features live music, but then some ballroom dancing kind of type things. And it really was a tremendous success. So much so that this year we're going to do 2, one in the spring and then one in the fall. And it also is very appealing to an older demographic, which was very nice to offer something for that group as well. And then the next thing you'll notice is Bellevue, where we're going to do a series of First Fridays starting in May. And then we're also planning a Rocktoberfest event as well, which I think those dates are actually wrong. I think it's going to be the first weekend of October, not the second because America's River second weekend, so that would be on our capability. And I think that brings me to the end of things. I'm certainly open to any questions. But my closing comment would be, we're very excited about 2025. We are in, an offensive mode, trying to expand what we can offer the community and our citizens. And we're just super excited. So I hope you join us.
Oh, we do.
Thanks, Lou.
Commissioners? Questions, comments for Lou?
Yeah, I just say kudos. I'm in that space of events and I know what it takes and what goes on behind the scenes that people just don't recognize. So kudos, literally.
Thank you.
It's organized. That's a lot. That's a lot.
I think we have a lineup of events in our parks that we can be very proud of. I think it's a very aggressive program. And I joined KIC in congratulating you on the organization and presentation of such a wide array of activities for our city and our communities.
I would say that I certainly don't know what it takes to put on an event like that, and I am certain it would not be a success if I were solely charged with that. But I appreciate the constant effort and the thoughtful building of the team and assembly of the resources. This doesn't just happen. If you have an event on October 10th, you don't start thinking of it on October 9th. You're reporting out on a calendar here on February 20 something. And so I certainly appreciate that. I had, I think, 2 questions. One would be, you mentioned adding the audio specialist. That was a few years ago. Recognizing that we do not exist in an environment of unlimited funding and unlimited options, but are there other elements you would add to your team that you feel would better support? It's already such a broad range of offerings that I'm struggling to say, how could you do more? That's not really it. But are there things or supports that can be placed with you and your team that could leverage on the existing success or sustain it? Because it's such a legacy that I want to make sure we're doing everything we can proactively to support that.
Well, I guess I'll answer that is we constantly evaluate what we're doing out there in the system, right? To kind of identify, the gaps, right? So like for this year, we're trying to expand our efforts with teens, right? Last year, we found that, these moonlight dances, were particularly attractive to an older demographic, which I feel was also underserved. I think there's various facilities within our park system that could be utilized more. For instance, Season Good Pavilion in Eden Park. I would like to activate that more, right? So actually there is more good news on the way, thanks to Jason, seizing opportunities with the city manager's office. There will be 2 more event programmers coming on from a full-time on a full-time basis to again enhance and re-energize or take to the next level. Because we're definitely interested in growth. And growth can take place qualitatively, so we can, put more meat on the bones of what we're already doing. But I think there'll also be room to add, more events to it. But I mean, there will be definitely some challenges because staffing is one issue, but then you need to pay for performers and content too. So we may have to look. Again, the foundation has been a tremendous partner in helping us with funding. And many of our events, particularly those ones at Riverfront, do generate some revenue either through beer sales or selling food truck slots or merchant vendor slots. So we're trying to work that sustainability angle. But as we do continue to grow, we do need to look at potential funding. So I think we're moving in the right direction in terms of staffing. And I can't say enough about the present staff that I already have on board. But we will at some point have to look at funding in terms of kind of like infrastructure kind of things as we look long range into what we're doing out there, at some of the neighborhood parks. And we really want to enhance programming there. That should be part of, how we approach, those adjustments. Like at Owl's Nest, right? There is kind of a performance pavilion component as part of that building's rehabilitation, right? So that fits right in. So yes, that should be part of our planning, right? If we do something at MLK or Season Good, maybe we put, and it doesn't have to be hugely elaborate. It could be a concrete pad, right? That we could use as a stage platform. I have thought about maybe asking or trying to source perhaps some type of, we used to have the, now that we're at the Showmobile, which was a recreation center, but it was huge, right? And very difficult to move, but now there's smaller platforms. So something that we might be able to, put into, our arsenal. Let's use the word arsenal. I used to like to use Army terms, but one of those mobile stage trailers, I think would be, again, very helpful in projecting, what we're doing out to those neighborhood parks.
Neat.
So we're fired up.
Tremendous. Well,
Thank
your
you.
experience is evident and all that you put into this is, and I know you give a lot of credit to your team, but tremendous leadership. You put a lot of passion into this and it shows and how well these events are pulled off and the presence of our riverfront park. So thank you, Lou. All right, that was a great update. So, come on up.
Morning. I was gonna stand up. Just stand. No, it's all good. Good morning,
Morning.
commissioners. I don't have any action items for you today.
I see that.
I have a ton of updates, so
Okay,
just tell me to shut up when you get tired of listening to them.
bring it on.
Please stop me if you have any questions on any of these. Just quick updates on a whole lot of projects. The Ludlow garage is 99% complete, we'll say. They're working to finalize some wiring on the garage doors. They had the man door, we'll call it, that they've ordered for the past 3 months came damaged, so they had to reorder one of those. It came in last Friday. They're in the process of putting it in this week. Chris McGee's got them punch listed. That project should be completely done and looking for a certificate of occupancy in the next 2 or 3 weeks. So that one's finally wrapping up. I think it's going to be a great asset to Crystal and her team. The Alt Park Valley Trail restoration, everything is ready to go on that. We're just essentially waiting on the trail not to be so saturated with snow that we tear it up worse than we need to. So contractor's ready to go. We're in constant communication with them. Project that's up on that end of the road isn't going to mess with us. They're still not even ready. They've done everything they can up to park property essentially and are waiting to coordinate with DOTE on that work to replace those poles that are up there as well. So we're not going to interfere with them. We're going to get our stuff done first, let them hash that out in the spring. So you all should expect to see that complete in the next 45 days as soon as we can get in there and get that work done. The Art Museum driveway and hillside stabilization project is officially complete. Thanks to DOTE and Ford Construction, all those folks for a phenomenal job. They made it easy on us on our end to coordinate. We fixed a couple stormwater issues in the process and got our guardrails fixed all the way down to the gazebo. So it's great in my opinion and happy to work with those folks anytime. Ted Berry has been kind of on the slow hold for a little bit just because of the snow. I was down there walking that a couple of days ago. They have all the granite mocked up that goes on top of the seat walls. 95% of the flat work has been done. There's a couple wells that they're gonna pour individually and a couple slabs in the sidewalk. And then every other bit of the flat work is done. Right before it got cold, a lot of the trees arrived. And instead of leaving them in the parking lot, which is bad, they healed them in temporarily. So our urban foresters are on top of that. We know that those aren't finally set. As soon as the weather breaks, we'll be back on site with all of our folks, Lou's team and Crystal's team, to make sure that those trees are put in properly. Our warranties don't start on any of that stuff until substantial completion of the whole project. So we have a year for all those trees once we say they're good. So all is going well on that. Almost everything that we have left to do is getting the site back, getting the beds back in shape, getting everything ready for Lou's team to come in and plant all those things, trees together, and softscape type stuff, making the park look beautiful. So I know Rocky's already thinking about a grand opening date. We were talking a little bit yesterday, so coordinating that to get a ribbon cutting for this. We're excited to have this one back open after this was the first meeting I took my first day. So I'm happy to have this one back and done and move on to the next stuff. Lytle Park Comfort Station, we are complete with the bid documents. That's in purchasing's hand. I was talking to our purchasing liaison yesterday. She is frustrated that the computers have been on the glitch this week, but she plans to have those documents out next week. So that should be on the street for bid, and we should be able to report back to you all in March, hopefully, just with some preliminary numbers on what that's going to cost. Burnett Woods Dog Park. The last permit we were waiting on was the tap permit for the fountain. All of that is in place, so everything is ready to go for that project. We plan on construction probably starting no later than March 1. So coordinating with Bruce right now and assume that that's going to happen sooner rather than later, finishing up the last submittals and ready to go on that project. Smale Lot 23, I was really hoping I had some preliminary numbers to share with you all this morning, but I don't. The bids were due on the 13th. Did receive bids. I've talked to some folks. I know that they bid, but I do not know numbers. As of yesterday, I know that it had made it through purchasing's initial check to make sure all the documents were in place for everybody that bid. It now goes to DEI, who checks all the subcontractors to ensure inclusion is met, all the wages are correct. And they have at most until next Friday to certify all that stuff, and then allows our folks to release the bid tab. We think it's going to happen sooner than that, maybe as soon as tomorrow afternoon. We'll keep you all posted as we know numbers on that project.
That could be coming before the board for approval in March.
Terrific.
Now, Area 23 bike skills. Internally, our team is ready to go on both the comfort station path, all of that stuff. The last thing we have to line out is actually the pavement right around the comfort station. We're adding some amenities there to make sure that it's as compliant as possible. That's the last bit of design we have to do. The contract is 99% certified as far as I know. It's already been through purchasing review, but it's waiting on final signatures to make all of that official. We're already working to schedule meetings with the design folks so that we can hit the ground running on that. We expect that design build process to start at the latest in March. And we'll be working towards all of that bike skills course stuff for the remainder of the summer. Andrew is working in my office. Andrew Campbell is working to put together the comfort station assessment package before he's out on paternity leave in a couple weeks. So Chris McGee and I will bid all of that stuff while he's out and have the comfort station located, include ADA compliant stalls instead, where there is none now. The roof is going to get fixed, some tuck pointing, and some just general maintenance on that building to make sure it's in great shape as we activate this part of the whole site. So lots of going on out there. We're really excited to get that one moving, and we're in great shape from P&D's perspective to hit the ground running with all those things. Everybody's Treehouse had some great meetings. Thanks to Jenny, Paul Deppenbrock and his team, the carpenters for our shops under Andy. They met us out there to talk about the railing. A lot of great ideas for that as we're trying to pare down what we're going to do with that. We think that facilities and maintenance is going to take care of all of the railing that needs to be done up to the Treehouse mothership itself. That gets pretty high off the ground, and there's quite a lot of stabilization that needs to be done under those band boards. So we're going to bid that piece out separately, which will include the rails there. And the main support, there's one tree that is completely rotted out. Our guys can't do that either. So we're going to have other folks come in and put that one in. Bidding both of those pieces. Paul is already working to get us quotes for that piece so we can take it completely out of the scope, and then we'll rebid the rest of that probably under ITB because it's just as fast at this point. So you all should expect numbers for that, if not in March, April for sure, for getting that ready to go for construction. Let's see. Alt Park Playground, that contract is ready to go as well. Everything is in place for that. We're waiting on equipment at this point. So coordinating times right now, a little bit with DWA. Some of the major pieces have a 12 to 16 week lead time, which has already started. We assume that that stuff is going to be in by May, and then probably construction will happen May through June. Fairly quick turnaround on a project like this. They're not really going too far outside the limits of the existing footprint of the playground. Internally targeting completion before July 4th when they have their fireworks display. So trying and hoping for that, but that's kind of the timeline on that one for now.
Really good meeting with the All Park Advisory Council last week, and they're really excited for this. So really excited to get it open by hopefully.
Yep.
Terrific.
California Woods hydrological plan design. Finally, we have a contract with these folks. So Stantec, we've gotten everything ironed out for this. It's back with city law for final approval through purchasing review team. That is happening this month. I was told no later than the 21st. So we're going to get ready to start scheduling sampling meetings with Stantec and go through that whole hydrological design project for the whole site of California Woods. It's one of the most exciting things we're doing to me because it's a difficult site. Sandy conditions right on the river. You could go up there right now and there's some crazy conditions happening at the entrance of California Woods. So learning about all that stuff and how we're going to apply that to other things that we have to do shortly, like Burnett Woods, and how do we mitigate those problems. Learning that whole process from some folks that do it really well is exciting for me. I'm looking forward to applying that. So we'll keep you up to date as that happens. That's a year-long design. So essentially they're going to go through a whole hydrological process. Where are we eroding? How do we fix that? How do we fix it sustainably so we're not tracking stuff and building roads to get to places that are hard to get to, doing it, very environmentally consciously to try to set a precedent for how we fix erosion in remote areas across our whole system. So I'm excited for this one.
Just reading through that contract, I felt like I learned so much. I was looking things up and going back and trying to take a little quick course in all this stuff, but I can't wait to dig into it. It's going to be really cool.
Sinton and biochar. Let's see. We have given KZF authorization to go ahead and site everything on the Sinton campus to include biochar. And next month, we will have an updated site plan for you all to look at. Essentially, biochar is going to go where we told you it was going to go last time, on the very end of the site. We are going to split it between 4 storage areas, put it right in the middle, 2 on each side of it, so that Crystal has opportunity and Sam have opportunity to place their material on one end. The shredder will probably be on that end as well, moving through the whole site to be picked up on the other end of that building. It's accessible this way on 3 sides, which makes airflow and things a whole lot better. Siding is better, allows us to keep the footprint as small as possible and still maintain sanitary and stormwater storage to the best of our ability without overgrading. So all that said, KZF is working towards design development documents for the whole site to include biochar. You will see that very soon with a schedule on when things will happen as far as when we can be ready for DDs, which you will see cost estimate updates and get a window into that and get a review on those, hopefully in the next couple months. And then moving on towards CDs so that when funding is in place at the end of the summer, we're ready to bid. So all of that is moving forward, but we had to give KZF that direction such that they can get towards preliminary plans so that we can final vet that with the city and the buildings and inspections department. So that's where we are with biochar and Sinton. Everything's working well. We think it's going to bid. The whole site improvements beyond the Sinton site will happen at one time under one package. All the grading essentially from the Sinton building, the main building, back to the edge of the site kind of needs to happen at one time so that you're not in any intermittent conditions with a 5-foot difference in cut and elevation. Setting up all the pads for the buildings to include Taj Mahal to the biochar building and everything else that we're doing on that site. Beyond that, we will have some leeway as to when we do what. Do we do the auxiliary 2 building first? Do we need to do biochar in that building first? We're trying to set this up so that we have as much versatility in bidding as we can. KZF is aware of that, and we're kind of setting up the plans so that some of those individual components can be bid out individually, like the biochar building, very much like we did. So Sinton is moving forward. Wanted to give you guys an update on that. Basically, we're working with KZF. Internally, they had a meeting last week to final fit inside of the building to ensure the footprint of the biochar building works. I'm coming in on that tomorrow to review that stuff in another meeting with all of the vendors. to set the footprint of that building, set the location of that building, and then that lets KZF do the rest of what they need to do to get the site in order. So that's where we are with that. Lots of moving parts on the engineering right now, but nothing is holding us up essentially to getting that moving. Any questions on that one? Because I know that's a whole bunch on just Sinton.
Really in the thick of it. So you're gonna have some real clarity here in the next month or two.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yep, we got to give them the opportunity to incorporate all of that stuff into the site, know what's going on with that, and figure out when realistically we can bid and phase those things. Don't think it's going to be very long. A lot of these things are vetted pretty well at this level, but final fitment of equipment and those kind of things are imperative to make sure we're giving Crystal enough room to maneuver inside of that footprint.
Are you concluded on the equipment for biochar?
As far as what pieces we need, I would say yes. We've even ordered the cooling loop to this point. So yes, all of that equipment is in play.
And has it been scoped and have you secured pricing on it?
I think everything is paid for.
Oh, it's paid for.
Yes, ma'am.
Acquired it.
All of the original equipment was acquired under Crystal's original RFP, other than the cooling loop, which there was allowance for. And I believe that was $90,000, which was ordered in the past 3 months. That was the last piece of equipment that was even questionable. Everything else is with the building and how we interact with that.
Yeah, the boiler and the ORC, which gave us so the original quoted amount of the, all of the equipment. We ended up decreasing that amount by about 130,000 or so. And then that's the funds that we used to purchase the cooling loop. Once we had to determine the cooling loop once we had the kind of design of the facility better figured out,
So will you have a demonstration event for us, sort of like a rocket, launch?
There will be a startup phase to this whole project. So that where the vendors will be out to show us that stuff, including the conveyance folks. Ian Soder from Canada, the gentleman that's helping us with all this, I'm sure there will be a startup component to this.
Yeah, I'm sure that I'm not the only commissioner that would like to participate in the learning. We've been along the ride for a lot of this and it's, it's a very progressive technology that we're bringing to the parks and I'd love to get a firsthand look at how this thing operates.
Garner.
I had a vision of it, which I'm sure is not anything close to what it is, but
Educational component of this is such a key part of it.
I totally agree.
And so I think it's really exciting too, Andrew Bernier, who you guys met in the January meeting, or no, in the December meeting, but he started in January. He's our new head of Explore Nature and really progressive about how he's looking at expanding the way we think about educating the community through parks. And I think biochar just perfectly lines up with that. And that's been part of Crystal's kind of core belief about it from the beginning, is what we can do, not just to produce biochar and thereby make healthier trees and deal with our wood waste, but really use this as a tool to educate the community about what we can do here.
Yeah, we had talked about, hosting little, pop-up events at maybe farmers markets and, gardening forward communities like North Side or sharing buckets of our.
we have a lot of interest in the community.
Oh, I bet.
For it to drop, so the whole urban ag community is reaching out.
I bet.
Quarterly saying, when can we get biochar? So
Next season, right?
it's brewing.
It's the goal.
Next season, this time next year.
This time next year, right? So
About
next gardening
About
season.
80% of my indoor plant life has biochar in the soil. So I'm seeing it firsthand, like this stuff is nuts.
It's awesome.
I'm loving it.
We have a lot of conversations going now with SMU. The city's done a green infrastructure accelerator. So we're pulled together between OES and SMU and MSD, other community partners talking about stormwater applications in general.
Absolutely.
For green infrastructure, but applying biochar into those applications as well. So
It's great. Exciting.
I geek out on this stuff, but talking to the MSD folks about potentially using their incinerator ash to augment biochar or augment the compost that we make with biochar to better infiltrate things. Better water quality, all of those things could have implications and impacts all across the city. So they've come to us with this stuff and it's cool to me to see that stuff. When I'm having a meeting about Burnett Woods, they're like, what about biochar and how do we use this so that even the city's byproducts that we have to make are being put back into helping our, 5,500 acres be more resilient and sustainable. So
Mentioned to a colleague about the Christmas tree, potential creation of that, and they were like, what? Like take my tree today. Like, that would be so.
It's neat. Happy to work on it. It's been a long road. I know that people are frustrated that it takes a long time, but this is a very complex project, and I think it's going to be a win for the whole city if we do it right. Sometimes I was thinking about that this morning on the way in, sitting in traffic for the third straight day, because sometimes things just need to marinate a little bit because different pieces are moving at different speeds. And to get the best project, you have to know when the right time is to pull the trigger on this. So working towards that with biochar, I think we're getting there.
For biochar in particular, the complexity of that is we have a lot of things that have structural complexity, engineering complexity, hydrological complexity. All those exist in biochar, but on top of that, you have a financial modeling. Does this, how can this ROI be sustained? And then where do we source the material? There are so many more layers than even, we have a lot of complex projects. I'm not diminishing any of them, but there are layers in this that don't exist in, to my knowledge, any other element of the parks that have had to be understood and analyzed and incorporated into a financially sustainable as well as an environmentally sustainable model. So yes, do things take longer than you wish they could? Yes. But in this instance in particular, I think it's a lot of grace is owed because of the layers that are unique to this project that have been masterfully combined in my view of it.
Much appreciated. A lot of perspectives go into that, and we appreciate the patience. I think we're about to turn a corner here, not to jinx anything, but a lot of the answers are happening. A lot of the big picture dominoes are starting to fall. So hopefully you all see a lot more concrete stuff happening in the next couple months. Inwood Park. Some things happened in the past month, but we didn't quite get it done. Folks came out to do soil borings. They could only get to 4 of them because of the weather. The 5th one, we went back and forth for a minute about not having it, but I really, really want it. It was up behind the pavilion itself, and it shows me the slope stability right behind that, which is certainly in play to have a whole lot of changes with the upcoming master planning. So we expect those folks to be out as soon as it is able to be traversed up to get that last drill point for us. Once we have that, we would and incorporate that into the upcoming RFP. Rocky's team did a great job of summarizing a whole lot of community engagement feedback. We appreciate that. I greatly appreciate the summaries because that helps me when he tells how many people wanted this and that. A lot of good feedback to consider as we start writing an RFP for the next steps on this project. We're not quite there yet, and we don't know quite what that entails yet or what we're going to ask them for, but expect in the next month that we bring you a list of biggest picture things that the community wants to see for weigh-in and evaluation. More on that next month as we evaluate and review all this stuff. All right, some maintenance stuff fairly quickly. Bellevue Rock Catchment fence repairs that you all voted on last month is complete. That is the way it needs to be and anchored in place. So thank you very much for the quick action on that. It was done through the city as an emergency and work is complete. Back safe for now. Burnett Woods sanitary sewer issues. I've lumped these all into one category, but progress is being made in many fronts. The bandstand, we have a contract with Rack and Ballard to fix that. We're going to intercept the line much earlier than it is right now and tie into another sanitary line. Decommission the broken sanitary lines that are going down the hill, which will stop one combined sewer overflow from happening and tie that back in to a viable sanitary sewer. All of that is happening. Basically, it takes one new manhole and about 100 feet of pipe. Rack and Ballard is going to do that. Essentially just us waiting on the DO for that. The Millionaires Club, Ian from my shop is still working on percolation testing for the potential to put in a septic tank there, but that may not be the best scenario. The more we evaluate that, there's another potential tie-in point, very similar to what we just talked about at the bandstand. That's a couple 100 feet away. My concern with the Millionaires Club is that if we put in a septic in this exact location, it may be a detriment to the green space. If it becomes spongy or if that ground doesn't dry out, we're adding a problem that I don't want. In other situations like Doris Day, where it's in the middle of a place that is not accessible, it makes a whole lot more sense to do it there than plow through 100-year-old trees to put in $700,000 with the sanitary sewer. In this situation at the Millionaires Club, that may not make sense. So we're still continuing to evaluate that from a percolation standpoint to see where we would put this if we did it. And if that place makes sense and is viable financially, we'll recommend that. But if not, we may recommend putting in a pipe at this location as well. The last piece on sanitary sewer for Burnett Woods, I want to address a little bit of the combined sewer overflow. Was brought to our attention a couple months ago. Jenny and I had a great meeting with MSD in January to talk about this and what we should be doing, or if we should be doing anything different. They suggested signage very similar to what they have at other combined sewer overflows that are enumerated. This flow is non-enumerated overflow, so it is not even in MSD's consent decree to fix. That's a pretty important designation. They have many, many that are under consent decree by the United States EPA that you have to fix this. And they have a 10-year plan, as you all know, about all of those to total $300 million. This one is non-enumerated, so it's not even in that. But they understand, MSD understands the importance of it as well. We're building the relationships, so we're going to fix it anyway and ahead of schedule and basically doing the design so we know how best to put that in. I was very encouraged by the meeting, only in that when we brought up some ideas about controlling our own overflows on site, they seem very receptive to helping with that because they know that it's going to take a lot of stuff off of their plate. If we can take 1 million gallons away from their problem on our site, they will help us pay for that. So we're working through some of those. One of the biggest ones is at the 4-way stop right above Trailside Nature Center, where they were talking about the trees that do have some sinkholes. Allowing water to sit right there above that, turning that into a temporary detention basin potentially for just stormwater so that it will keep 1 million gallons or less and then let that slowly drain down over 24 hours. Very similar to what we've done in other places. That's one iteration to how one piece of this can be fixed.
Are you talking about converting the road into something pervious?
That's eventually, yes. But you have to collect water where the water will flow. So there's several places on site where you can do that. One of which is at the 4-way stop, one of which is up by Martin Luther King. That is a big area adjacent to the EPA. We can put in all the infrastructure we want, but if we can't get the water to it, it doesn't matter. What we're trying to do is selectively and very isolatedly put in infrastructure that allows us to make the most impact holding water in certain locations on site that is clean. So when we talk about separating the Millionaires Club out, it's so that essentially that whole piece of area I can negate from the combined sewer overflow. It only becomes stormwater if I take the sanitary completely out of it. Then I can overland flow it versus putting it into a pipe that's 3 times as small as it needs to be anyway. And basically take away that combined sewer overflow so you don't have poop water flowing behind Trailside. If you have any water behind it, it's only stormwater. That's what I'm trying to do first. That's the cheapest way to fix things. A very small example of that's Lars Anderson, what we did there for $25,000 in the berm. That whole field above Lars Anderson was flooding those people's houses below it. We put in a simple berm, basically allowed water to sit 2 or 3 feet during a big rain like we had over the weekend. A 6-inch pipe lets it flow so you're not blowing the dam out. And then after 24 hours, everything below that stormwater wise can handle that. And you're back to where you were. Hopefully we can do a lot of that at Burnett Woods, and I know we can. An eye opener for me in talking to MSD about all the calculations they've done is they told me, even if UC gives us nothing, they said dry weather conditions, Burnett Woods would combine sewer overflow behind Trailside Nature Center with nothing from UC. That's an eye opener for me. So that means we have to mitigate what we can on site as well as we can, and that gives me more encouragement to do so. Like, it's different if you know you have the river above you and that at any time it can just blow through everything you're doing. Knowing that I control my own destiny, or we control our own destiny within Burnett Woods, is very, very powerful to me, that we can fix these kind of things. Negate all we have, mitigate MSD's burden on those pipes, which they're landlocked in a lot of situations. And it's just, they know that it's coming and they know they're going to have to fix those things, but it's down their list. So we don't have 10 years to wait for those things. And I think we can do a lot to fix them now. And they're receptive to help us even financially, I think. So that's it on Burnett Woods. I think the short.
Isn't the lake there a detention?
It is.
It is.
It doesn't have a whole lot of storage. You're 2.5 million gallons over on an event that, put in perspective, has happened 10 times in the last 6 years. It has overflowed to the point where you have water running behind Burnett Woods, Trailside Nature Center above. It's happened 10 times in 6 years. So that's your kind of recurrence interval.
I know I brought this up before, but since we're talking about it, I'll bring it up again. To the extent we can get some improvements to the lake in this overall project would be ideal. I mean, it's a dirty, dirty lake. It's got a lot of litter in it. Right now, it's got a lot of dead fish around the brim of the lake.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not sure what has caused that, if it's the freezing weather temperatures, or I haven't seen a lot of fish die from a frozen lake, but
It's,
not sure what's going on there, but
I do want to explore dredging it because I know that was talked about a couple years ago. I've done some of that stuff. Not for parks, but I have a little bit of experience in that.
has it ever been done? Do you know, Jenny, if that lake has ever been dredged?
I don't.
Not in 20 years at least? Yeah. I'm not aware that it's ever been dredged. I can't imagine what you'd find in there if you did, but
What do you think about capacity? You've got 20 plus years from Jenny's account that it hasn't been done, and the silt that's in that
yeah,
instantly is, your capacity is way down. So if you bring that back to the bottom, it's going to alleviate a lot of your problems anyway.
yeah. It doesn't seem like it's really functioning well as a detention lake if
Certainly,
it's never releasing any of its capacity.
if it does, it's already into the middle of a combined sewer, right? At the point where it gets up over top of the outflow, it's already flowing past everything. So it's a mess right there. If we can take a lot of that away upstream of that four-way intersection right above the pond
Yeah.
and stop 1 million gallons from doing that and raising the pond, that would help us. And that's what I hope to be able to calculate and figure out how much of that we can mitigate.
Well, in addition to the conditions of that lake, there is quite a lot of unneeded and unused pavement in that park, which is
I
a
love,
tremendous contribution to the issue. So when you hear some willingness on MSD's part to participate, walk right through that door that is open for you.
so as,
Walk right through.
here's the rub on everything and I 100% agree. Parking from UC has to be addressed. Like if you drive through there now, the goal is, as you come down into a hill, the roads are already set up to accept your stormwater. So mitigating that down to the size of a path instead of something that's 30 feet wide. And then allowing me to put in a pipe underground where that was. All the water that used to run down the hill and onto the road goes into this pipe. And at the end of the 4-foot diameter pipe, there's a 6-inch diameter pipe. And the 6-inch always is flowing out. And the storage is where the road used to be. So now you're keeping all that water. You're gonna have to buy pipe, but now you don't have that pavement. You can green space over top of that, which even reduces increases the infiltration rate of the whole site, which farther helps us. So you can do all of those things. I think that's the answer to this. If localized, we can make a dent in the 2.5 million gallons we have to mitigate. So tons of stuff going up Burnett Woods.
Agree. Means a lot.
It's exciting though. This is, combined sewer, we're all fixing the problems that were decided, decades ago when they decided to set the system up this way. And, they didn't know what we know now. And it's been a challenge I think everybody's known about for a long time. I mean, the consent decree with the EPA was from before when I moved here in 2005. It's at least 20 years old.
Right.
And so I got a memo on this from, 2 directors ago where it was like, hey, we got to fix this. And so it's really exciting that we're getting to dig in, roll up our sleeves. We've got the attention to MSD. We're talking to the folks at Stormwater. And I really think we're going to see some progress on this for the first time in a couple generations, which is exciting.
All right, next one, Central Avenue Maintenance Building. This is a spinoff of Centon as everybody gets realigned and we try to bring the facilities and maintenance folks into one centralized location at Centon. We're going to move the mechanics to the Central Avenue location where the electricians are right now. They're going to move up to Centon. Mechanics are going to move into this Central Avenue building, which is already controlled by Parks. Half of that building is already paved, and that's where the electricians are housed right now. They have their own offices, HVAC, all of that stuff in there. The other half of that building is a dirt floor, and city facilities uses that as kind of a storage area for pipes and like fluorescent light bulbs, their tile saws, all of that stuff is going to be moved out. And we're going to pave the floor of that to accommodate our mechanics and a place for them to properly take care of all the equipment right down on Central Avenue. So the biggest parts of this will be paving that floor, running enough 220 electric for them to run their grinders, their lifts, everything, their welders that they use to do maintenance on all of their equipment, ventilation to make sure they're safe working and welding and all that stuff. And other than that, it's in pretty good shape. Some fencing and things on the outside of zoning will allow. This is right downtown, 2 blocks from TQL Stadium. So Yeah, there's a little bit of a question of what we're allowed to put back fence wise, which may or may not let them, securely store stuff outside. But other than that, those are the main functions of what this project is going to
I'm
be.
sorry, you might have said this, but I was reading. What is happening in this building right now?
The electricians work in half of it. Our electrician team works in the front half of that. Public services uses the other half, the wall that is in between them. The public services half has a dirt floor. They basically use it to store wood and scaffolding and their tile saws and stuff like that. They're gonna move out of all that because Parks owns that whole building. At Jason and Jenny's, doing. So thank you guys for getting us that space. This allows us to open that up. That whole other side of the building, it's most of the side is public works right now, and we're gonna utilize that for mowers.
Across the street is the WCET parking garage. And just north of it is a Cincinnati Public Schools maintenance facility, that kind of white roof you see.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I'm trying to picture the building. I'll drive by it on my way home.
It is definitely innocuous.
There's some 3 foot tall, like fence posts in front of it that are filled with concrete as bollards. That's what I'm talking about. Can we put that back as a better fence? Things like that. So we're looking into what we're allowed to do zoning wise. The architects from my team are looking into that and doing a code study. We'll bring all that before you all as we get better plans. We're drawing that. There aren't any plans for that. We've checked with public facilities. We've checked with everybody in the city. They don't have plans for that building. So we're doing what we need to do site plan wise to get pricing to do the concrete and things like that and the electrical work.
That's one that we're funding with our capital budget request for next year. So the money we'll get on July 1, we've got some set aside for this project.
Yep.
Great.
2 more we've been working on really quick. These are storage bays. At Warder Nursery, the green space team has requested some space to put mulch and topsoil and things like that. These are the 2 foot by 2 foot by 4 foot stackable Lego blocks, essentially, that they're going to put into bays that they can secure their materials inside of those. Work with both Matt Hood and Ann Ullman on those to specify and get exactly what they want. Matt Schiller from my team has bid both of those things, and I think we're ready to go on both of them. Adlita got one of the bids for Warder Nursery. Those actually have asphalt bottoms because a lot of what she doesn't want rocks in the bottom of it and things like that. So those are going to be asphalted on the bottom with those, and the ones at Deal are just going to be gravel on the bottom. But there are more of those. So both of those projects are happening. And basically as soon as we get delivery orders on those and the ground falls, we'll be putting those in for those folks so they can use them hopefully for the spring plantings. Update on the 471 bridge fire and everything we're working on with that. We have had, I will say this first, I'm encouraged that we had great interviews with everybody we interviewed vendor wise when it comes to the playgrounds. And interviewing those folks, we are fairly certain that the best way to go about this is to also have a landscape architect kind of running the site around that. Typically, that is how all these playground vendors work. They're used to working through a landscape architect. We heard that time and time again through these interviews. So our next step is to interview at least 4, hopefully 5 landscape architects as well. Jason is working with purchasing to ensure that we're working within how the emergency memo is going to be structured. And we'll hopefully have a plan for how we're going to procure all that by the next month. So we're
Should have some exciting news on this one.
still working through interviews, but everything we've done so far is super encouraging.
Great.
Let me see here. Oh, only one more note, because I know it's near and dear to a lot of people in this building, the pickleball shade getting final. Had to do a special inspections for that because they got some pretty big foundations. We have to procure those ourselves because that has changed in the past 6 months where the city procures those. They don't want the contractor to do that as they usually have. So Matt Schiller from my office is working for getting final permitting. We think that project will be done and complete before the first May tournaments. So construction will ramp up here in late March as soon as the ground falls for that. I do have a couple more property impacts. About 2 weeks ago, Dan Jones from CRC reached out to us. Every year, apparently, they partner with P&G to revitalize a recreation area. And the one in question this time is the Ashland Recreation site. Right now, there's a softball field on it, as you can see. And up in the top corner, there is an old playground. It's 20+ years old, fairly dilapidated. Their plan, as you can see on the next slide, is to replace that. That's two different plans. Kate, go to the next one if you can. Okay. That's weird. That is very weird.
There we go.
There you go. So that's essentially their plan. Where the existing playground was, they're gonna put a small parking lot with ADA accessible spots, sliding the playground adjacent to that for a brand new playground. And then the biggest questions on this, or what is allowable and what is best when it comes to putting back a field. Yeah, Kate, if you go to the one with two, that is a split screen with two options for two different size fields. The one on the left is what they call a D size field, which has 60-foot base paths. And as you can see in that in the black square right that shows you where the radius of influence would impact a lot of trees. There's a fence right there at the edge of that. Beyond that is a whole lot of trees. A lot of them are scrub trees. I don't claim to be an expert in that, but there's a lot of things that need to be cleaned up in that area. Importantly, there's two huge trees right on that fence line that we don't want them to take out. So the inclination of the staff and the recommendation of the staff is to go with the picture on the right, which shows a T-ball field. T-ball field has 40-foot base paths. Those big trees can be saved. They can still grade and maintain a proper outfield for that, maintain functionality, but save those big trees and accomplish everything else on the site. It will change programmatically how they can, activate that site. We're going to talk with CRC more about that and how that may impact their programming. But this time, that's the recommendation from the staff. Bring this before you all. We still have some things to vet with CRC before we bring you a formal recommendation, but this is one that will come before you all for an approval because it's a substantial change to the site. We think it's a good thing. It's a great partnership. They get one of these every year, Dan says. So P&G is helping them revitalize one of these spaces. He said next on the list is potentially Owl's Nest. And that perked me up. It's like, okay, we're getting ready to spend quite a bit of money revitalizing that ourselves. And if we can revitalize some of the recreational components as we're doing it in concert, that just makes a better project for everybody. So good news on that as well. And hopefully that plays into what we do in the next year when it comes to funding Owl's Nest. With that, I believe I'm going to shut up.
Lots of stuff.
Listeners, do you have questions for me?
Questions, but you are truly a gem guy.
Crazy good staff.
Yeah.
Crazy good. So,
Outstanding. You guys are getting a lot done. I was tracking this as you were talking and it's amazing. You're right on schedule. A couple things ahead, a couple things slightly behind, but not really. One we didn't cover on here, if there's any updates worth discussing on Glenway.
Glenway, very good. We did receive word, I believe, a couple weeks ago, maybe a little longer than that, that Kara was successful in getting part of a grant for that, $50-some thousand, $150 that we asked for. Still in fundraising mode for that. A few folks that we reached out and did community engagement with in November really wanted to follow up with some of that. EFIA, I know, is one of those Rocky is working with right now to schedule follow-up community engagement. Still working on the full funding picture of that project. Internally, we're working to finalize plans for the accessible entrance into the park and working through all the math on that. I believe in the next couple of weeks, we're going to meet with community members again, get some more feedback from all of that and incorporate that into the design. We're still not 100% certain how we're going to procure this yet. I still am of the mind that we're going to do the playground as one procurement, the rest of the site probably as another one to include all the concrete work, the loop, some grading if we can to fix the site and make it as visible as possible. All that will go in a separate package. Really haven't pushed to get those bid yet. We have decided in the past couple of weeks a path forward we think to go get the playgrounds done. There's 2 or 3 different mechanisms we could use to bid them, an RFP, an invitation to bid, and all of them have their setbacks and their pros and cons. So we're working with purchasing to decide how best to do that, but that could come first. We could procure the playground potentially first and do the rest of the site improvements second as funding becomes more clear.
This is the Glenway Park capital. We need about 350,000 additional. We've asked for that from through the capital budget process for the budget that will be approved this summer. We're hopeful that we get some good news on that early, that it's going to be included. And if that's going to be included, then we'll be able to kind of be moving forward. But in a best case scenario, we'd be able to have a groundbreaking sometime before the end of the year, which would be great.
Great. Any questions or comments for Joel?
Thank you all.
Okay, thank you,
Lots
Joel.
going, thank you.
We get Derek today, or is he doing a civil service?
Derek is down at Civil Service, and it's a busy day for us down there. We've got a lot of stuff coming through. Just a quick overview. As you see here, we've got 161 full-time employees, 19 vacant positions. We've been really busy getting started up with all of our spring hiring for our seasonal staff. So far, I'm hearing good things from the operations folks as we talk to them, like the signs that are out and about. The Rockies team of communications has been really marketing it as well. And so we're hopeful that we'll be kind of fully staffed up. One of the things we're working on right now is some testing for some of these positions. And so Derek's working with the central HR team to get the tests ready for the Arborist 1 and the Arborist 2 for the natural resource specialist and for 2 of our district crew leaders, 1 for land management and 1 for facilities. In addition, we have a bunch of people that are getting appointed today officially through civil service. And we had really good news where we had someone accept a position as senior accountant yesterday, and they'll be joining Hedda's team, which is very exciting. So things are moving forward on all fronts, but we're really having a lot of success at getting these positions filled and kind of moving down the path. So. Lou mentioned earlier the 2 additional positions that were coming into events, but in partnership with the city manager's office, who is really interested in programming for teens and programming for families. We've been able to get 2 basically junior event people. Junior might be the wrong word, but it's got a technical term for what it is, like a senior or a Parks and Rec supervising. But Lou's team added a 1 service area coordinator, which is kind of our event staff. So we went from 2 to 3 about in August. And now we're adding 2 people that will work with them. So we'll have kind of 5 full-time folks plus our full-time audiovisual person. So we're going from 2 full-time to 6 full-time in the events team over the last 2 years. And that's really exciting to kind of really blow that up. And it's something that, you know, I was hearing the city manager loud and clear that she wants to have more programming for teens. As we know, or as you might have seen, the Cincinnati Recreation Commission won a best parks programming or project of the year for the Cincy or for Rec at Night, which was a great program, 10 Saturday to get give youth good programming events to go and do and participate in. And we're going to be helping with that a little bit. So some of these positions we're bringing online will be not shared, but they will be able to lend their talent to help those projects. And so we're really excited to add those on and grow the events team. As you can see, Lou's busy.
Yeah.
So happy to answer any questions, but things are just moving forward really well in the HR world.
Director's comments.
Excellent. So it's snowy outside, but we are still quite busy. Let Kate pull up some photos here. Emerge is the spring show at Crone. It runs through April 20th. You can see some just beautiful photos of what's going on there. I mean, just constantly amazed at the talent of our florist team, our horticulturist team there. Really cool. MLK Day, unfortunately, 2 years in a row, we've had bitterly cold MLK days, and all of the volunteer events that Crystal Johnson's so much organized had to be brought inside. So we did have UC students that were over at Senton. You can see some photos here of them doing some inside projects. They were repairing and painting tables and benches. They also helped organize the storage area downstairs in our garage. So hopefully next year we'll have a little bit better weather. People were hardy on our volunteers, but it was only so cold it can get. The OPRA conference, the Ohio Parks and Rec Association conference, we took a good team up there and we won a first place in natural resource conservation category for our Cincinnati Conservation Stewards program. So it's 2 first places in a row. You can see the award right behind us. We've got, 2023 and 2024. Just a great program. This is where we partner with the Cincinnati Parks Foundation, the Civic Garden Center. And we're teaching our volunteers to be project site leaders for this invasive species control, which helps relieve the pressure on our team to work every weekend. And we have other folks that can manage this. You can see this photo of Crystal Johnson along with Brenda Magosian on the left and Drew Goebel on the right, getting the award. Just a really cool recognition. I should also point out that the Parks Foundation won a third place for a program they do for their obliterators program that does litter removal through different parks. So just always a fun thing, event, and just a great opportunity to meet other folks in this field and learn from them. It's great to take the team up there to get to have those experiences. Parks Academy. So we did chainsaw training over at that Trailside Nature Center, I believe, right? Yep. And so we had our whole team out there learning best practices and how to stay safe and operate chainsaws in the safest and best manner. So just another great example of how our HR team and our operations team are working together to make sure we're getting all this training happening. And we've got a bunch of events. So this Saturday, one of my favorites, I haven't been on the official one, but I've been on kind of an afternoon short version of this, but the Underground Railroad Ravine to Freedom Hike at La Buena Woods is just an unbelievable, cool program to learn about kind of the nuts and bolts of how the Underground Railroad worked. Hamilton Avenue, obviously a major corridor that starts over here at Walnut Hills and goes all the way north. Was way back when an important route along the Underground Railroad, and the ravine in La Buena Woods, which is just down from Hamilton Avenue, was a really key part of that. So it's a really great experience or great program. For our bird lovers, Explore Nature's holding the Woodcock Walk and Watch on Friday, March 1st. Guests will be able to learn about these secretive timber doodles, which is the official name, but the vernacular name, I guess, is the woodcocks, and they stop on their migration north. It's a free event and hike that takes place in Avon Woods Nature Center. Waffles in the Woods, hugely popular event, March 8th, 9 to noon in California Woods. Great event put on by the California Woods CPAC. Always fun. They're gonna have Marty's waffles. There'll be signs of spring, delicious waffles and syrups. Always a great event. And then last is our naturalists are hosting the spring wildflower walks. And these are going to be at all different nature centers Saturday mornings, March 15th, 29th, April 12th, 19th, and 26th. Each walk allows participants to learn about unique spring flowers in each one of these locations. Just beautiful stuff. So lots happening all over the place. Exciting.
Perfect. Are those your comments?
Yep.
Great.
That's what I got.
All right, commissioners. Session comments?
Don, you are muted. Bill.
Thank you. Sorry. Just apologies for not being there in person. I'm told 4 to 5 more weeks of no weight bearing on my broken right ankle. But gratitude for all of the reports of the busy team that we hear. Nothing particular to add. Oh, actually, I did. Has the river crested? I saw some postings that we were right. A good chunk of the serpentine wall was pretty much covered. Have we crested? Is that
Yep.
Is obviously you can't forecast hydrology. I'm not really asking that, but as far as impacted parks, I've always been amazed at the speed with which facilities reopen after flooding recedes, and I just didn't know where we were in that process.
Well, I believe it crested yesterday afternoon at about 56.4 feet, which is pretty significant flood stage for us. It gets up over the wall and over the serpentine wall in Yateman's Cove. It also pretty much takes up the entire event lawn at Smale and takes up most of the walking path along the river. Our team was on it last week, getting ready for it. And just yesterday on our call, we were already talking about kind of all of our other operations regions helping out to get that cleaned up once the water recedes. And we expect that to happen pretty quickly. And we'll be out there cleaning it up and getting ready for folks to come down and see good looking parks.
I would also add that California
Nope.
Nature was preserved is closed as well.
Correct.
Comes up over the road.
Yep.
And it's pretty muddy and slushy afterwards. Last I heard that.
Yep. So for folks listening at home that might not have heard that, Rocky just chimed in that California Woods Nature Preserve is closed because the water gets over the road. So we've had to have that closed this week. And it'll be closed at least through Saturday, but perhaps through the weekend as we wait for the water to recede and get that cleaned up and ready to go.
Last.
Yeah. Jenny's saying it'll likely be closed at least through the weekend and perhaps most of next week as well.
Great.
Perfect. I think we can have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do we need a roll call that? No.
Just a second.
And a second. All right. Thank you, commissioners. Have a great week.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.